All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out so everybody can join in. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. It is Monday, December 30th, day before New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve Eve. So pretty soon, New Year's, right? We're going to be off on Wednesdays. Keep that in mind. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on the Wyckoff trading method with phases, the phases of the Wyckoff trading method. So really, really good stuff. Before we get started, everything we're going to talk about today is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's check and see where we're at with the market. So futures are up right now after hours, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the weekly chart right now, this is the first day of the week, right, has already shown actually a pretty big range, right, 24-point range today, right. So we were green this morning and then we reversed off of it. Pretty interesting stuff, right. And so we've been talking about this for a while, right. Bullish still proven otherwise. Well, they're trying to prove otherwise a little bit here today, right. So we pushed to all-time highs on Friday, came down a little bit, turned out to be a hanging man, right. Broke down a little bit of tail fail today, and then kind of worked its way down. So broke the upward trend line, gave a little bit of a bottom tail right there. And actually, see these compressed days that we had, those really, really compressed days, right? We had that expansion up, expansion down. And so we're kind of holding that as support right now, potential support, right? And there's still an open gap below, so that is a potential target if the bears want to get in control tomorrow. So what we have with this upward trend line breakdown is we have a fresh trend box around it, right? So this is your first kind of indication, for potential bearish moves, right? So if we push below today's lows, we could see a fast gap fill on that one, but we'll see if that holds as support. It works its way back up, gives us a fresh trend box, and then we'll see what it does, right? So tomorrow should be pretty interesting, last day of the year. So we'll see if they have any shenanigans up their sleeves, if they want to mark everything up into the close. It was very interesting today how Apple was pretty much one of the only stocks that ended green. It's like they want to keep that one up into the end of the year. So anyway, good stuff. Let's take a look at the price action today. Okay, let's see what we had today on the 15 chart. So again, right now you can see the trend box right here, but we had a pretty nasty day today, right? We gapped up a little bit today, very, very low. Then it faded the gap real quickly, right? And then pushed down, right? Give you a big 15 orb this morning to work with, right? And then right there, 15 orb down, right? Formed the lows, reversal, right? And then they kind of worked it back down, closed below the 15 orb levels today. And of course, these are the levels that we use for our members. Our members get before every market open. So we have levels to work with, right? So you can see here, on the 5-minute chart, right? Quick 5-minute candle breakdown. This candle right here, a little bit of a lower shadow. This candle right here would imply that we want to test here, and then boom, push right down to the next level, right? Held this monthly R2 level, right? Worked our way back up, right? Hung out around these levels right here, and then back down, tested it. Yep, lots of support at that R2 level, and then back up. It's pretty interesting stuff today. So good. So this week, again, we're talking about the Wyckoff trading method, right? So this is pretty interesting stuff. A lot of the work that he did is still relevant today. So today we're going to talk about phases. So what do we mean by phases? Okay, so we talked about yesterday, just a quick review, right? We talked about his 2 rules, right? And the first rule is that, right, Richard Wyckoff, he stated that the market never behaves the same way. Okay, so that's the first rule. And the second is basically refer to rule 1, right? But basically said since every price move is unique, its analytical importance comes when compared to previous price behavior. Okay, so for those of us who trade price action all the time, right? We understand how candles work, right? We understand how they work between levels, right? And we look for space between levels where it looks like we may be able to get a move to the next level. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the phases. All right, so there's 4 phases. Okay, so the first one is the accumulation phase. Okay, so I'll pull up an example of that in a second. So let me just define it real quick. So the process of accumulation, okay, is caused by increased institutional demand. Bulls are slowly gaining power, and as a result, they're poised to push prices higher. Although the accumulation stage is related with the bulls gaining authority, the price action of the chart is flat. So in other words, the process of accumulation is illustrated by ranging price structure on the chart. Higher bottoms within the range is usually considered a signal that price action is in the accumulation phase. So what are we really talking about here? All right, so we're talking about this. Okay, so a method, a way of looking at the market. So let's go to shop and take a look. This one has been great at showing phases. So let's go to the daily chart. Let's just go here. So real quick, let me show you. So the different phases of this. Okay, so we have the, let's see, let's get a box here. Oh, let's just do trend lines here. Okay, so we have the accumulation phase, okay, which we just defined. Phase. Okay. And then the next phase is going to be the markup phase, which is the second phase. So bulls gain enough power to push the price through the upper level of the range. This is typically a signal that price is entering the second stage. Okay, so this is the where the trend is emerging. Okay, so if we, so we go like this. So let's say this is the range, the accumulation phase. We're kind of like range bound in here, right? And then we start to work our way back up. Start to work our way up. Okay, so this is called the markup phase. Okay. All right, then we get to the distribution phase. Okay, so that is so make sure everything's coming through. Okay. All right, good. So we get to the distribution phase. All right, so that's up here. Okay, so we get a level up here. Right, starts to distribution phase. Distribution phase. Okay, and that is defined. Okay, this is the third phase. So its price action on the chart is flat generally, just as the accumulation process. And once the indication that the market is in a distribution phase, there will be sustained failure of price to create higher bottoms. Okay, so in other words, we start to kind of break down a little bit, right? That's the idea. I mean, this stuff is pretty common sense stuff, but it's legit, right? So, and then the last phase is the markdown phase. Okay, pretty simple here. Back down. Price goes up, then price goes down, right? I mean, pretty simple stuff, right? But it is interesting. There's some techniques that we'll talk about too later this week. So this is the markdown phase. Okay. All right. So accumulation, markup, distribution, and markdown. Okay. So really cool stuff. All right. Markdown is usually confirmed when price action breaks the lower level of this flat range here. Okay. And afterward, the entire process repeats from the first stage: the accumulation, to markup, to distribution, to markdown, right? So those of us, who have, talked about, in the past we've talked about Elliott wave, right? It's very, very similar to that, right? So you get your impulsive waves up, right? Your corrective phases almost, right? And then, sometimes you get the markdown size. So that's your moves down, impulsive waves down, whatever the case is, okay? So that's the idea. So let's take a look at SHOP here as an example of this, right? So let's look at the accumulation phase, right? So we know SHOP had this epic run up recently, right, to all-time highs, right? And then we had that kind of that move down, right? So this is a great example, right, of the accumulation phase right here. So you can see, right, we're kind of doing this. But pretty interesting right here is we did get some higher lows, right, around this phase. And we also had increased volume. A lot of this is going to have to do with volume. And we even talked about the Jesse Livermore method too. This is very similar to that as well. So, accumulation phases can take a while, but you can start to see it by increasing volume, right? So volume is ramping up even when, we're getting these higher lows right here. It kind of came down with earnings right here. But we're still seeing volume kind of ramping up, right? Earnings, right, starting to work its way up, right? More volume here. Look at this. Look at all that volume down here as it kind of started to fill, right? And then what happens? We start to break out of this channel, right? So this accumulation phase right here. So boom, we start to get this move up, right? So very, very good, right? So then we start to see higher volumes, higher bottoms, right? So we start to see this as we start to move up. And then the markup phase, right, is where it's clearly going. So this is where institutions are basically loading up, right? Now, obviously, I'm sure they would be like, hey, let's get it go up. But eventually it's just going to, they buy the pullbacks in these accumulation phases, right? And then it breaks out of these levels and it starts to move up, okay? And then you get the distribution phase, right? Now, in this case, right, it was pretty interesting, right? So with SHOP, so I mean, it could still be in a distribution phase, but if it was, this is a very short one up here, right? So you saw volume start to amp up right here, and you see instead of making higher lows, we start to see lower lows here, right? So it pushed, actually broke out of your trend channel right there, lower lows, and then started to break down below those levels. And then we started to see that move down, right? So in a way, this could be a little bit of distribution right here, okay? So that could be your distribution phase, okay? I'm sorry, your markdown phase. And then we get back, right? Get back here, back to accumulation. Okay, they're starting to buy it up again. Keeps on pulling back, right? Even on after earnings, right? More volume, right? Starts to pull back, more increased volume, right? And then we start to see higher lows. Okay, here, and then we break out of this level, right? This accumulation phase right here, and we begin the markup phase again. So right now, it would appear that based on this method, right, that shop is in the markup phase right now. So after this, a little bit of very, very little bit of distribution, you would expect to be a little bit longer, right? Markdown, accumulation, markup. Okay, so now the real question is, how much higher is it going to go, right? Could this whole phase here be, right, a distribution phase? And we'll have to see how it plays out, right? So, but in general, we look for these type of cycles, and these phases are very, very interesting and can be very helpful, right, when analyzing the market. So that's all for today. So just kind of wanted to show you what the phases are, and we'll talk a little bit more, in the next couple days about, kind of these methods right here. So and a couple strategies that we'll use going into the end of the week. So good stuff. All right, guys. So at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those into the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can and try to wrap up as early as possible so everybody can get a good night's sleep for an awesome trading day tomorrow. So good stuff. So we have a few that came through here. So Shirley sent an email out, and I got a couple of these. So let's pull those up. Okay, so Aries. Okay, so it was a relatively bearish day in the market, but Shirley always finds a way to find some ones that were moving bullishly. So this was looking pretty good right here. I love the this candle, right? Nice high, holding trend, looking bullish, right? So definitely want to keep an eye on here. Good increased volume, so that your levels that you sent out look pretty good. CG. Okay, a little bit of a topping tail on this one. Again, here's another one here, right? I do like how it closed above these levels, so that's good. Just a little bit of a topping tail, so be careful with that. I like the increased volume. Dick's Sporting Goods. Some of the retail sector got some volume today. Okay, so Dick's looks pretty good. Nice move right there, breaking out of the ascending triangle. Not quite increased volume, but something to keep an eye on. Val, VAL. Looks good. Yep, looking bullish, still proven otherwise, right? Nice breakout of these levels right here, and I like the increased volume on that one too. So nice little inexpensive one if anyone likes that. ASHR. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with this one. This thing's all over the place. This is a gap and all over the place. I wouldn't even touch that if I wrote it down right. But anyway, those are pretty interesting. Let's take a look at Macy's real quick. I had one from Stock Recycler. He's liking this one, right? He's seeing accumulation in this one. So he's seeing a lot of volume coming in here on these accumulation phases here. We're starting to see a couple breakout moves, right? So, this is a potential one for on the Wyckoff cycle here for Macy's for trying to work its way up. It's already filled the gap. Still seeing some big volume coming in these areas. So we'll see if it starts to get moving off of that. Okay, and then Superstar, Amazonius. Okay, so Amazon's really interesting, right? So we had that big day on Thursday, right? Increased holiday sales, best holiday ever, et cetera, right? Blew through these recent resistance levels here. You can consider this possibly an accumulation phase here for Amazon, right? And then perhaps they started the markup phase right here by breaking out of this this massive channel. You see this whole channel here? You can consider this possibly accumulation. Right, increased volume as we're kind of amping up. We're also seeing higher lows all the way up there, and then you have that initial breakout move right there, and we're pulling back. So Amazon could be one to look at into 2020. They have earnings coming up right at the end of the month in January. So we'll see if this one is in the markup phase right now. So, but tactically day trading wise, right, we're seeing on Friday we had a big upper shadow right into some selling pressure back here. Okay, so that started the pullback, and today we got that follow through to the downside, right? So we're not 50% of this candle yet. It's possible that could be tested. 200-day moving average is right there. Then we can see if it wants to work its way up. So good stuff. Matthew, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. MTN, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's see. So we've got FedEx. Okay, so FedEx is interesting, right? So FedEx had that huge gap down on earnings, right? Nasty bearish candle, big volume, right? And then it failed to break down much farther below that, right? There was some support levels right here. It kind of held that, gave you an inside day, and then popped off of it, right? So then, right, the real question is, how's gap resistance going to do? So we have that gap resistance line right there. Give you an inside day up, tried to pop above it, couldn't do it. Give you an upper shadow on Friday too, and gave some big follow through to the downside today. So, if the market is weak tomorrow, this one does look pretty bearish and could come down and possibly retest these levels, over the next couple days. So, something to keep an eye on. Nasty candle today. Not quite increased volume, but still not a pretty one. But yeah, good one. Sarah, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Good evening. AMD. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's take a look. FedEx. I'm actually gonna put FedEx on the game plan idea for tomorrow. That looks really good. 1 second. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Hold on, guys. 1 sec. Let's put this up here. Let's get FedEx on there. Okay, good. Nice. Okay, so AMD. Interesting here, right? So it left lots of gaps on the way up here. This is a great example of accumulation here, right? So you can see here, I mean, really, it was pretty range bound this whole time. Then it got really, really tight range bound, right? Failed to break down. Look at all these lower shadows. It's trying to break down, basically held the 200-day moving average, and then came the markup phase, right? So once it broke through all these key levels right here, look at that candle right there, perfect. Right over all these levels, nice increased volume, right into earnings too, right? Got a little bit of pullback, but then a nice lower shadow right there, and then it was go time, right? Push up, bull flag up, another maybe extended bull flag right here. It came back to hold the trend line, and then just continued to work its way up. Really amazing move with AMD over the last couple weeks, last couple months. So that being said, right, it gave it a couple nice pushes up here, lots of gaps up, right? So now it's kind of in the process of like testing some of these gaps. It may come back and test these levels. If it did, we got this upward trend line right here, right, and then it may continue to work its way up. Okay, awesome one. Paul, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in, man. Manhattan lad, what's up? Good evening. MTM. It's a full trading day tomorrow. Yes, yeah, full day tomorrow, but off on Wednesday. Off on Wednesday. So yeah, full day tomorrow. Experience and thoughts. Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Joseph, what's going on? Thanks for joining, man. Colin, what's happening? Yeah, let's take a look. Tesla. So Tesla is pretty interesting here, guys. Huge move up. Look at that. Look at this little accumulation phase right here, right? So she kind of short-term-ish, right? But then once it got through and into this gap, this thing just got so strong. Right? Look at that candle right there. Increased volume, closed over all these levels, right? Right before the all-time highs. Doji sandwich up, breaks through the all-time highs, and then pushes and just keeps on plowing up to new highs up there, right? Pretty impressive stuff. Now today, with the rest of the market, showed some weakness, right? I mean, the range today was pretty impressive, almost 20 points on the down move. But look what it did. It came right down to the upward trend line. So and bounced off of it, right? So we have a nice lower shadow here today. So let's see if that gets some strength, right? So this is one you might see a little bit of markup into the end of the year. So if the market wants to be strong tomorrow, this is one to keep an eye on. In fact, let me add that to the list. Okay, good, nice one. Trina, what's going on? Oh, a little pizza tonight. DPZ. Let's take a look. Oops, not DPZ. Finger not working, DPZ. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is pretty interesting here. So complex chart had an incredible move on last earnings. It really did. Incredible reversal candle back here, right? The basically earnings were bad. I think generally the earnings report was bad, but their conference call, that's how you do a conference call, right? They're like, oh man, we're gonna make more pizza, it's gonna be awesome, we're gonna buy back lots of stock, and they gobbled it up, right? So bull flag right here to break out, right? A couple nice breakout candles right here, and continue to work its way up, right? Then it finally got a little bit high up here, upper shadow, and then it's kind of holding this support level right here. So right now we're seeing a little bit of a kind of consolidation area right here, a little triangle type thing going on. So so it's definitely getting tight in here. Let's see if it can kind of pop out of these ranges, maybe work itself up to the upper fib fan line there. Maybe test a couple of these levels here. Okay, and what else? Oh, an I surge. Let's see, ISRG. 2 to surgical. Good. So this level right here, you can see this big box I have. This is just kind of like a potential distribution zone, right? So every time it gets up here, it kind of rejected. It came up here, it got above it. Now it's kind of back in the range right here. So just be careful with that. Let's see if it holds it as support, right? Real key levels to get over these all-time highs and start building above that. Earnings coming up, relatively soon. So something to keep an eye on. MHawk 420, what's going on? SLV. Let's take a look. Yeah, SLV inside day. A lot of strength in some of the metals this morning for sure. I like how the inside day closed in the upper end of the prior day's range, right? So that's interesting, and it's out of the cloud at this point. So let's see if it can break above today's high, right, and start to work its way up. Maybe test these other levels up here. Good, Paul. What's going on? 5. Yeah, this is like one of those another retail one that was doing pretty well today. Just lots of key levels right here that it got above today. Got over the 2-day moving average. Got over all these upper shadows right here. Next level up was this resistance level right there. It got above that, which happened to correspond to the cloud. Pushed through that and closed nicely. Now it's got an upper shadow here. Right, just be careful. It's got a couple of, a level right above. So see if it can, get strong, close above those levels, and then, continue to work. Paolo, what's going on? 2 queries. Appreciate your advice here. Oh, just education, no advice here, just educational ideas, right? That's all. So anyway, is there a video on how to draw trend lines in Thinkorswim? There is, like the basics of it. Like, I mean, you gotta, like, you just click down here in the bottom right hand corner and you click your trend line tool, right over there. Make sure you get the line up. But if you want the 3-minute series, give me 1 second here. This is this is my series on how to draw, or my my video on how to draw trend lines. Very good stuff. Some folks watch it over and over again because it is a helpful tool. So I'm gonna put that in the chat box down there at the bottom. So that's the link to that one. And what time frame to use for Ichimoku Cloud? It works on all time frames, Paolo. It works on all time frames. So it depends what you like to trade on, but it's helpful in all time frames. Papa Mentos, what's going on? Neo, yeah, thanks for bringing that one up. So today was the day for Neo. Guys, Neo was hot today, not just because of the short squeeze and all that stuff. It was the only earnings thing. It was the only thing active today. So, I mean, of course, traders are going to get into this thing today. Huge volume today. Their numbers were pretty decent. I think it was like less of a failure or something like that than they were expecting. They did in their report, I think they did say that like they're struggling, like they're losing some credits over in China and stuff like that. So overall, the outlook wasn't very good. The market just bought this thing up today. It was great. Right? So, so we had a gap up this morning, right? Based on that. So nice run up this morning, right? Closed over these pivot levels right here, or opened over these pivot levels right here, right? Next key level to get above, if it could, is right here. This next kind of major pivot area right here. Got above that. All right, once it got above that, they just started buying it, right? You had this level right here, got above that, ended up closing at that level. Then you had this level right here, right, got above that, and then it just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing until it finally found some resistance. Guess where? At its macro downward trend line, right? So from after its IPO, connection to here, to here, to here, there's your geometric resistance level right there, and then boom, right to it, and then came off of it, right? So it gave also a nice down move as well. Okay, they can't run forever, but it was really an incredible candle today. That was a fun one. So, and then LE, yeah. So the LE, be careful. That's right. Yeah, I mean these things don't run forever, right? So just gotta be careful. It was running into its resistance, right? That candle right there that kind of rejected it. Nice move down off of that. So I'm glad you were able to really do well on this one. So it gave you a nice run there from earnings. So good job on that one. Good. Nas, what's going on? LK, yeah, this one's just been fun to kind of keep on the radar. Okay, so yeah, so LK has just been interesting. I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason to what it's doing except this is fun to trade, right? We're seeing huge volume coming in, right, since the last earnings report, right? So we had a little bit of an accumulation phase right here, broke out above that with this candle, right? A little bit of a pullback, higher low, and then started to work its way up, right? So again, this thing's just been interesting. It does give a lot of upper shadows, which makes it tough to get any sort of continuation from it, but it's starting to get fun to day trade. So see if it pulls back a little bit, may eventually pull back, retest the trend line there, and then kind of try to work its way up. And what else? Paolo, what's going on? Options to buy advice. Any catalyst coming up this week for Walmart, Target, C, or McDonald's? I mean, we'll take a look at the charts. I mean, retail started to get some power today. It didn't go into kind of the major retailers like Walmart today, still chopping around below the cloud. TGT, we're starting to see, maybe, TGT just likes to consolidate for a while, and then it typically moves off of earnings. So we're kind of seeing a lot of, choppiness right here. I wouldn't want to get into that with any sort of options. C is interesting too, right? All-time highs, right? And then kind of, is testing the upper trend line right now. So keep an eye on that, see if it breaks down below today's lows. And then McDonald's, lots of, consolidation here. Maybe you could call it accumulation of, but at this point here, it's right in the cloud. It's having trouble getting any sort of move. It's got to get over this guy right here to start to get interesting, right? So it's tough to say. I mean, if money's going to flow into them or not. I mean, there was money into retail today, and on Friday there was more into some of the consumer staples type ones. So we could, but with those guys, you really need to look for like a real clean setup. Otherwise, this is too risky. It's just guessing. Godwin, what's up? Good to see you, man. Thoughts on applying the Wyckoff cycle on intraday time frame? Reminds me of a failed bull flag markup. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, totally. So yeah, so that's a great question. If we go to the lower time frame, we do see this a lot, intraday. But it's sort of like we talked about last week, right? The low volume, ebb, right? Remember that when we were talking about day trading? So when the volume when you start to see a move, then it pauses, and you see the low volume, then you get another move. So it's a little bit different because sometimes you don't really see that type of that type of volume intraday, right? Except, right, a couple of the examples we had, right? So like Roku, what was that one like on Roku? Like intraday, like the volume started amping up here. You could actually consider this kind of like distribution here today, right? So we had that big move down at the open on Roku, right? Some sideways action, right? And then you had real increased volume as it's pushing down, right? To show that the really kind of indicates that the bears were in control there, right? And then you had a couple recently that had some big pops on Roku with the increased volume. It's a little bit trickier intraday, right? And honestly, just being a day trader myself, it's tough to kind of analyze like that, but it does help to kind of keep these cycles in mind, right? That we do see this. But again, I think you're more effective looking at it as kind of bear flags, type stuff there. So just for the intraday signals. Paolo, yeah, the yellow candle is an inside candle. So so what we do is we just code it in there, right? Just kind of show, just to show show that the candle went inside, right? Because when a candle goes inside, right, it shows that there's like some indecision in price, right? And then when it breaks out of those levels, sometimes you can get some big moves, right? So here's your inside candle, break up, right? Then you have your inside candle, break down, right? This is the hourly chart right here, right? So yeah, so it's that's how we do it. If you want, I can put the code in here for you if you'd like. I'll just paste this in the chat window. You can copy it in your Thinkorswim if you'd like. Okay, so you can color it as well. Good. Sakho Taco, what's going on, Baba? Let's take a look. Oops. Yeah, so Babo's has been really, really bullish recently, right? So you can kind of see like the accumulation phase down here on this thing, right? So this real big consolidated move started to break out of it, right? So and again, most, unless you're looking at Tesla or something like that, most don't give like a straight line up. So this gave you your first signal to be like, hey, this thing's trying to get higher. We're starting to see more volume coming in, a couple higher lows, and then it started to break out, right? Got over those levels, and then we saw a nice trend up. And then we just recently hit these levels here, and it's kind of retesting some prior resistance levels here. So here's that prior resistance way back there. Okay, so broke out above those levels and is kind of testing those right now. Let's see if that can hold, if that's enough to hold it. Okay, good stuff, Ernesto. What's going on? Good evening. Yeah, let's take a look at Roku. So Roku, really interesting day today, guys. Oh, these are all our levels that we use with our group here. So let's see. So recently, right, I pointed out the triangulation here of Roku, right? And I thought it was really cool today that it not only did it give you a big upper shadow back on Thursday, right, where it rejected all these levels up here, right, with increased volume, right? So what does that say? I think you might want to test a little bit lower. Yeah. So the next day, right, we got a nice push down to the cloud, and it actually closed inside the cloud, right, which is bearish, right? We've talked about that. Right? Sometimes. Okay, left an open gap here and gap down the next day. Couldn't even refill the gap and then came back down today. Right? So today was actually a pretty good move on Roku. Came all the way down to find cloud support, and look what else it did. It came right down to that triangle. So let's see if that holds that as support. If not, it could start to get a little bit nasty. But if it does, right, it may start to work its way back up, try to do like a little gap fill or something like that over the next couple trading days. Okay. Paolo V. Yeah, so V has just been struggling to do any sort of real breakout, right? So it keeps on looking like it wants to. You get a candle like this, and you get this little gap up, and then it pulls back in, So right now it's holding a little bit of support right here, so see if that can hold up for you. Lift. Yep, definitely on the bearish radar, with its candle today. Now, it did hold the cloud today, but it is a thin cloud, so if it breaks below there, you could see it continue to move down, right? But I had big down move, sideways, measured move down. So let's see if that continues to hold this level right here, this cloud level. If it does, it might try to work its way back up, and we'll see if this whole thing right here turns into an accumulation phase for Lyft. Okay, and then Uber. Its counterpart. Yeah, this one's gotten a lot of call activity recently. Just hasn't really shown its stuff yet. So perhaps that's institutions accumulating. We'll see. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, on a day trading side, it's closed below this prior resistance level right here. A little bit of a lower shadow, so it's got a little support right here, but it's very, very key levels right here that it needs to start working itself out of if it wants to get bullish in any sort of reasonable amount of time. David, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Starbucks? Yeah, Starbucks. Is it time to buy the drip yet? Not yet. Okay, so, been really, had a little bit of markdown here. So let's see if they're accumulating it here. We are seeing some pretty big volume in these areas. It just needs to get out of this cloud and show its stuff again, right? It had an epic move up from way back yonder, right? And then, after they issued like some bad forward guidance, right? Like earnings were so, right? So, we'll see. We'll see what it's got. So again, it's at least got to get over these levels right here. This kind of 89, 89.20 level to try to get up to the low 90s. Mog Bubble, dude, what's up? Good stuff. So Palo Verde, yeah, man, definitely check that out. Yeah, my pleasure. And Mhog, so how about GME? Yeah, let's say a word. GME. Well, wasn't that interesting? That had horrible earnings, right? As always, and somehow managed to hang in there. So look at that. So big gap down. Okay, I don't know if it's going to pull a Neo on you or anything like that, but it's working my way up. Nice move on Friday, right? Pushed out of the cloud, went right to the 200-day moving average. So these are some key levels right here. If you get over the 200-day moving average, you got these guys, right? You got that resistance level, then you got these guys here. So again, over 7, bullishly with increased volume, might start seeing a move. I do like how there's a lot more volume coming in on this thing, so something to keep an eye on. It's hard to imagine long term though. This, fundamentally, this company is going to stay in business, but still, I am seeing some movement here. I am seeing some volume, so that is interesting. Sakho Taco. Oh, you've been bearish. Yeah. SBCE. Yeah, thanks. SBCE. Trying, right? It's a big inside day on Friday. Couldn't break above it today and kind of is closed within the same range. Again, this level here, Thursday's high is going to be kind of a key level for it to close above 1187. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Yeah, big sure guys in GME. Yeah, definitely. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to kind of conceptually think long, but we look at the charts and see what it does, right? So again, getting over that 200-day moving average is going to be pretty key for it. So good stuff, guys. Awesome chart request tonight. So hope everybody's enjoying the Wyckoff trading method. Today was we talked about phases. Let me update that there. Talked about phases, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I guess if the market's closed on Wednesday, we probably won't talk about it tomorrow night. But Wednesday night we'll be back on New Year's night, so that could be fun. So good stuff. And oh yeah, Christian Bale's character, cool. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Nice. So yeah, so good. Yeah, so everybody have a great evening tonight. Thank everybody for tuning in. If you're new here, definitely click subscribe on YouTube. We do this every market night, and we go over new technical ideas, kind of like the Wyckoff method and things like that. And we do chart requests, and it's fun. So you could always tune in anytime and just we'll pull up a chart, and you could at least see a different perspective on it, and maybe it'll help you. So I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Definitely, like I said, subscribe on YouTube. Check out our links in the description, and everybody have a wonderful evening. I hope everybody has a great trading day tomorrow too. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game.